Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share with you my Deloitte interview experience and the interview questions. So this was for the location Hyderabad. So there were total three rounds, two technical round and one techno-managerial round, and these were covered around 3 weeks. It took like first week I had the first technical, and then in the next week the second technical, and then on the third week the techno-managerial, and then after that HR discussions and all. So I don't consider it to be the interview round because just the salary discussion happens in that, right? So the technical interview it started with, so they asked me, brief me about yourself. That's a generic question. So it basically depends. Like I gave, like this is like I have this much of experience. I'm working in this company, and I have used these technologies and all. So the next question they asked me, how does concurrent hash map works internally? So I mentioned it like it uses the locking level like in the hash map, like it locks the whole hash map, but here the buckets will be there and each bucket will be locked. Each bucket will have their own lock system and multiple threads can read and write on that. So this is how I explained about them, like the concurrent hash map. And then they asked me how does garbage collection work in Java. So here I explained them about the different kind of memories like a hidden space, survivor space, tenured spaces, and I also mentioned about JVM tuning in production and memory leak debugging. Like the different tools are there, like Visual VM or J Visual VM, which can be used to check the garbage collections and all, right? And then the next question was, how does JVM loads a class in Java? So here I explained about the class loader, the three different types of class loader is there: Bootstrap class loader, extension, and application class loader. And then they said me, how would you handle a memory leak in a long running Java application? And then the next question was, what is method reference? How is it different from lambda expression? And then they gave me one technical question, one programming question. They gave me one string which was similar to that. Like it has some, characters like some capital or some small letter. And they asked me to find the third non-repeated character here. So the third non-repeated character here is F. So this was a question. I had to do it. First I did it with the Java 7, like I used the hash map. First I converted all these characters into the smaller, and then I use the hash map like key and value, like how many, like A will be the key in the hash map and how many time it is coming up, like two times. B is will be the next key and how many time it is coming up, that is two. So this is how I did. And then they asked me, no, they want me to do it with the Java 8. So that I did. And then the next question was, so few questions were on Java array. Like there was one question upon the two pointer approach. So I knew about that, so I just wrote the question. And then they asked me about Spring Boot questions. They asked me like explain the bean life cycle in Spring. So I told them like a bean creation is there, then the dependency injection will be there, post construct will be there, then it will be ready for use and pre-destroy. Then the counter question was, when should we use the post construct and when should we use the pre-destroy? So the post construct, I told them like suppose we are using cache and all, and we want to load all the data into the cache before starting the application. We will hit the DB, we will get all the data and load it into the cache. And then they asked me, how can you improve the performance of your API? So I gave them some examples like cache can be used asynchronous way, we can use, and then instead of a stream we can use a parallel streaming. We can do some manipulation. If we are talking to the DB, then we can use the indexes. There are many different ways. So these three four ideas gave them at that moment. And then they said, and then the next question was, how will you copy the data from entity class to model class or vice versa? Okay, like suppose we are hitting the DB, we are getting the data into the entity class, and now we want to copy it, or we want to uh, copy it, or want to migrate it, transfer it to the model class. So this was the question. So I told them we can use the getter setter. Then the interviewer said, like suppose there are 1,000 fields, like getter setter is good if you are having 4 to 5 fields or 6 fields, but now suppose you have 1,000 fields. Okay, then it will be a nightmare. It's not a good decision to use a getter setter, right? So at that time I did not knew about the answer, but later after the interview I googled and I found out different ways. Like one of them is mapstruct and mapper that can be used to do this kind of an activity. And then next question was, how are you securing your application? So I told them like we are using the JWT, and then he asked me, where are you creating the token and where are you authorizing it? So what exactly the JWT, the three different parts, all these things he asked me. So I did not knew about the creating the token and authorizing it. But JWT I explained like there are three different parts and what exactly each part is. So that I explained them properly. And then the next question was, are you using any API gateway in your project? So I told them like we are using the Spring Cloud Gateway. And then he asked me about the whole process of that, which I wasn't aware of that. And then later on, I came to know like, okay, authorizing of the token should be done in the gateway. So yeah, and then they asked me what are the different design patterns that you are using in your application. So first I told them like we are using singleton and build a design pattern by using the Lombok. Then they said me no, they are asking for he was looking for microservices design pattern. So I gave few of the examples like we are using circuit breaker when talking to another microservice, then another microservice goes down, we can use the circuit breaker. And then we were using the API gateway. And then there are few more which we are not using in our project, but I knew, so I just gave them the example like Saga, CQRS. So these were the questions which were asked to me into the technical interview. These are the questions which I remember right now. There were few more questions as well. And then in the techno-managerial, they asked me about my application architecture and how are, again, the same question came up, how are you securing your application? And thankfully, before going to that techno-managerial, I, went through the Google and understood like exactly what exactly how we can secure our application. And then he asked me like some basic questions like how will you resolve a conflict in your team, and some questions were on the Git and some questions were on the Agile. So this was all about. So yeah, I hope you like the video. If you like, please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.